Allegra, what was your project with this show?
Well, I have been interested for a long time in James Lee Byars' work, and I'd been particularly interested in James Lee Byars in Japan. He spent almost 10 years living in Kyoto and was very influenced by the history of Japan, the Golden Temple that he lived nearby, the traditions, the moon viewing rituals. And I came to Yi Seung-taek's work through my interest in James Lee Byars because I was asked if I might be interested in doing an exhibition on both artists. And I didn't know the work of Yi Seung-taek. And I was hesitant at first to do it because I didn't really believe in doing forced parallels. But as soon as I started looking into Yi Seung-taek's work and reading more about it and coming across these parallels and interests in materiality and interests in using found materials and
spirituality.
Interest in spirituality, I immediately felt that these two artists, who were both born in 1932 in incredibly different circumstances, one was born in Japan-occupied Northern Korea, the other one was born in industrialist Detroit in very sort of more difficult, sort of more working class conditions. And yet they both grew up to be artists who were incredibly similar in sensitivity and in interest in showing materiality through immateriality, which is where the title of the show comes from, Invisible Questions That Fill the Air. Both artists question their viewers, question themselves, and ask their works of art to pose questions, to leave a question mark rather than answer questions.
And there was a challenge, which is the place where you are showing.
Yes, I immediately felt that this particular place, this particular location, Palazzo Loredan, is the seat of the Academy of Sciences here, would be appropriate for both artists who were both incredibly literary, interested in poetry and interested in science. And so I knew that it would be an appropriate place for them both. However, it's a functional library, and we were told that it needed to remain a functional library. All the bookshelves needed to be accessible, which meant that there's no hanging on the walls. And this added challenge actually made the exhibition, in my opinion, gave it a sort of extra special soul, because it meant that a lot of the works are floating from the ceiling. So again, it's an interesting twist with the title, which is Invisible Questions That Fill the Air. A lot of the work feel like they have a form of invisibility to them. And there's a twinkle in the exhibition. There's a lot of magic. There's a lightness and a sort of shamanistic feel. Both artists were interested in shamanistic rituals, and I think that somehow they converse with each other and with these beliefs and sensitivities.
So it's an imaginary dialogue, because they never met.
It's absolutely imaginary.
And it's a dialogue between Korea and Japanese America.
Yes.
How can
absolutely.
we say?
And Yi Seung-taek was aware and informed on the West. He was highly educated, and so he knew about his contemporaries in the West. And of course, James Lee Byars was incredibly curious and cultivated himself and knew what was happening in the East. So it's an interesting sort of intertwining of souls and of minds within a temple of minds. I think this whole place sort of welcomes these thoughts and these intellectual pursuits of both artists.
Merci.